please stand for our monthly board meeting. Today is October 23rd, 2024. The time is 2:01 p.m. and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing just for a few minutes for a moment of silence for the victims and the two hurricanes that lost many lives, and also for all of those who have not came home yet from abroad during those crises in October of last year. Amen. All right. Public comments, we have Ms. Ann Bander with the League of Women Voters, Beaufort. Please come forward, and you have 5 minutes.
Nothing to say, thank you. I'm just observing today, no
Okay.
comments, but thank you.
All right. No one else. All right. Now we're ready to move on. It says minutes from meeting on September the 19th, board meeting was deferred. Okay. Committee reports. If any, I will start to my left. If we have any committee reports,
The Rules Committee does not have a report at this time.
thank you.
Finance Committee does not have a report.
All right.
Ad hoc committee, nothing to report.
To my right.
Re-precincting committee has nothing to report at this time.
Facilities Committee has nothing to report.
Okay. We will now go on to our new business. Approval of poll workers for November 5th, 2024 elections.
Madam Chair, there is
a list of poll workers in your packet.
All right, everybody go to your packet for the list of poll workers. You should read on the top there, Beaufort County, and you start out with the precinct.
The highlighted are your clerks or lead clerks.
Okay? Everybody got that? Beverly, you get that page? Okay, yeah, that.
Yeah, I got
Okay,
it.
okay.
I have a question. Will these differ from the poll worker, list that we received earlier on the 26th?
26.
Will this differ, because this is in a different order? And we were
It's
just
a
giving
different
it.
order, but they're all,
Right, I'm just asking if it's different from this.
no, it's pulled from the same information.
Pardon?
It's pulled from the same information.
It's pulled from the same information.
Oh, okay, thank
We
you.
were just trying to condense it.
Surely, I just didn't, have time to comb through everybody's
Okay.
list of workers, so that's fine.
How many poll workers total are on this list?
I'm sorry, I didn't look at that last number before we printed it out.
And are all of the poll workers here, have they completed or are they expected to have completed the mandatory briefing before the
Yes.
5th?
The next class will be on the 6th copy, but the next class is going to be on the 4th. And that will cover everybody that has not taken the class yet. Some people we added literally this morning to fill gaps. So all of those persons are coming to the class on the 4th.
It's not on here yet. Okay.
Well, we do have quite a few people who are scheduled to attend the 4th who have been scheduled previously. Were they people who missed their first scheduled date?
They either listed or never signed up. So those are the ones. that we
Okay,
scheduled for.
because I know I looked at my list and I have multiple, when I say multiple, well, 5 or 6 at least.
Right. Mr. Baxter, you're the absolute fill.
Okay, so this list, it's dated the 23rd, so this is updated from the assignments that you sent out on the
Right.
17th.
This was done literally an hour ago.
Let me ask you,
From everything you got,
Hold on.
like, wherever you got your list, this is updated from that.
Okay, Beverly?
I don't see any students unless I'm not familiar with who you trained. Will there be students, involved with
Yeah,
the?
we have students, we do have students on the list.
ST.
Some of them, this year,
Yeah, okay.
and I can only speak from the Bluffton side, but I do know that there are 5 students from on Bluffton side who are on the list. I can't really speak to the other end because I didn't really pay attention to those. Those were Gene's handling it. But a lot of the students sign up, they worked at one, some of them come back, they were approached just like everybody else. And then some of them had difficulty probably trying to make a class because of how the classes were scheduled. There were a few Saturday and evening classes, and if they could make those, they were on there as well.
I'm just thinking that if we don't have students for these that have very few workers, I just don't know how we're gonna navigate through the election. 'Cause
On the original
do you
poll
have
workers
students on
list
that
that you
list?
received earlier, did you have enough people to work?
pardon?
On the original list, the individual list that you received earlier, did you have enough poll workers to work at your locations?
Okay, I guess the word enough is relative.
If
Thank
you didn't, did
I
you?
just didn't know whether we were expecting to add on some students.
I have students on my list who appear not to have had any training, at least one. I mean, if I'm interpreting correctly, what it says, there's a student who's supposed to be at Burton 4, which is the Burton Wells, and it says required November 5th, general election mandatory brief, required new poll worker training, required unpaid voluntary hands-on training, required September
that's-
6th. that? So I mean, I don't know, has she been trained?
What's the child's name?
Kristen Smith, and she's assigned to Burton 4, which is Burton Wells Rec Center. And as I look at it, every single one,
That's not necessary, that can be misleading, because the unpaid is not, we have to list it on the system as required, so we can have it, so they can access it when we do it in the system, but those aren't necessarily required classes. Now, the mandatory briefing one, she may not have been checked off, but she's probably already had the training.
okay,
We
so what
can-
you're saying is this may not be up to date?
Right, that part may not be up, what date is that on there? On that list is
I
that?
received it from Jean this morning,
This
it's
morning?
dated yesterday.
That may, all that information may not be totally correct on that yet.
Well, it came with an email message that said, don't panic yet, I'm working on getting more people for you,
Right.
because I know there's considerable drops from the list I got in September.
Mine are too.
Yeah, people, you know, we can't do anything about them dropping, we had people dropping on Thursday and Fridays last week.
Yeah, and I understand you can't do anything, that's why I've always advocated over subscribing or overbooking, if you will, to account for the fact that we're always going to have people who drop.
Say, excuse me, and I know this is presumption. Is there any way more students from this side, because I found great value in the student poll managers the last time. They kind of really assisted with the long lines, and, because they could just check in people so quickly. I mean, I know everybody can do that, but that would kind of, help us a lot.
Okay, with the available people, including students, this is the final list,
Okay.
okay? And I know Wendell and Jean are still working on filling in some gap. If you have made reference to Jean or Wendell about a concern in any location, you can do that. We just need to go ahead and approve the poll workers that are available to work. And if you need additional, we will continue to try and fill in those gaps if possible. But you must be reminded that we don't have a whole lot of time, and the only training that we have left will be on the 4th of November. So review your list. If you have a concern, get back to Wendell or Jean on that, please. Thank you.
Okay, Matt?
I have a question related to what everybody's been asking. In a world of limited resources, there's always a balance between supply and demand. So on the demand side, that would be a perfect world of how many poll workers we believe we need to run the election smoothly. So that's the demand side. On the other side, the supply side is what this list represents. Basically, every single poll manager who has said that they're willing to work is on this list. So we have 100% of the available supply, including the ones that you beat the bushes to find. So my question for you is, what is the gap between this supply and the demand? In other words, in a perfect world, if we could have all the poll workers we wanted to run the election smoothly, what would be the gap between that and this list?
Well, Mr. Sweeney, the only thing I can say is that, and I know this for a fact, that poll workers, there are a lot of people out there that are willing to work, but just not able, all right? And from our database that we pulled, we gathered as many people that were willing to work and those people that were coming in for training. All the folks that we were getting in for training, we would schedule 30, 40, 50 people. A third of them will not show up. So we have to work with what we have. The election is going to go on, and I believe that we have enough people that will be able to process voters on Election Day and make sure that everyone is serviced within a timely manner. It may not be the perfect world. Election is not perfect, even though we would love for it to be perfect. We are counting on people that we have no control over, situations that we can't control, sickness, out of town, death, things like that. So even though we may have a database of, 1,500 plus people, everybody's not going to be available. I can hear Wendell on the phone talking to people say, oh, I would love to do it, but I have to go out of town. Well, I would love to do it, but my husband have surgery. You know, these type of things. So at this stage of the game, with all that's going on, I still feel that we have enough people that will be able to conduct this election, again, as smoothly as possible.
I understand. So we're balancing supply and demand.
Yes, sir.
But my question is, what's the gap between the demand, that's the perfect world number, and what we have as supply?
Well, again, what is the perfect world? 100% of what figure? What is the figure that you're looking at? 100% of what? That would be perfect, right?
Yeah, that would be the ideal number of poll workers at each polling location.
Okay. And what is
I'm
that?
just wondering what the gap is.
I don't know what that figure
I can't
is.
give you a specific number. We have calculated some numbers.
And again,
But I know they need to be
calculations are
adjusted.
based on a lot of assumptions and a whole lot of things that we probably,
So
you
if
know,
we had 50 more poll workers, would that help the flow of the election on Election Day?
that's what you all need to tell us. Because what we have is what it is right now. And I can't promise you that we're going to get 50 more people if that's what we needed.
No, I'm not asking.
I'm saying
I'm not asking
people
that we
now.
find 50 more people. I'm saying if we had 50 more trained available people, would that help us to run the elections better? Or is it 30, or is it 80?
The more people we have, of course, the better it would be to run the election. But again, I think with what we do have as listed, and maybe the ones that's still getting ready to be trained, our election will still be ran sufficiently. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if
Okay,
I-
yeah, go ahead. Go
if I
ahead,
may
Wendell. Go ahead.
add,
Go ahead, Herb.
there appears to be a presumption that there is a tremendous amount of people out there that's vying to be poll workers. And based on when that responsibility lied with the commissioners, we realized that is not the case. And now that that responsibility lies with the staff, it appears that we are asking them to do the impossible. Mr. Sweeney and I attended a training at the Hilton Head Library that Jean conducted. That started at 10 that morning. I went back at 1 that afternoon. She had even additional people coming in for training. The following day at Bluffton, I went to a meeting at the Bluffton Library, and there was Jean again doing training. The following day, I came to Election Central, and there was Jean again doing 3 classes in one day. I think we have to give the staff the benefit of the doubt that they're doing the best they can based on the circumstances. Yes, if there are more poll workers out there, would make an ideal situation, but that's not the case. It is what it is, folks. We need to move on for this election on the 5th of November. While we're hassling about whether we have enough poll workers or not, it doesn't matter at this point. We're not gonna get whatever number we feel we need is necessary. We're not gonna have them by the 5th of November. So let's vote on the post that we have and not be wishful what we wish we had. That horse is out the barn. We can't bring that horse back in the barn. That's over and done with. Let's focus on where we need to be on the 5th of November, folks, and stop worrying about where we would like to be. Where we would like to be is not gonna be a perfect world. We're gonna have lines, folks, as you all have already seen. There are going to be lines. It's not the end of the world that there's lines. We have to expect the fact that folks are happy to be voting. I have been all over the world where folks don't have that opportunity. We have the opportunity to vote. Let's let these folks vote. I went to EVC on Monday and Tuesday on Hilton Head. There were long lines, but nobody was angry about the fact that they were in a long line. They were happy about the fact that they are getting the opportunity to exercise their right to vote. And I think that's needs to be the overriding principle here, that we're giving people the opportunity to vote. Yes, there's going to be some lines. If folks complain, they complain. That's not the end of the day. Let's move on, folks. Let's not hassle about the same topic over and over and over again at every meeting.
Okay,
It's
no,
not
I'm
gonna
next,
happen.
I'm next. Okay, I just want to say this. We all should be aiming for the same thing, and that is to make sure we have a fair election. And I've been in Bluffton working, and I've attended these meetings, and I behoove that maybe all of our board members need to do, and I'm not saying you haven't done it yet, but go out there and see the triple lines that is at these early voting places. Nobody have been complaining at all. They've been giving out nothing but comments. Yes, and we have the workers in there. We have the machines there. Okay, we're gonna have a waiting period. If the voters say, I can't wait, and I haven't heard any of them say that. So I think that sometimes we beating up ourselves. People are gonna drop out at the last minute if there is an emergency, and emergencies do come up, okay? All we need to focus on is to make sure that every person get to vote. I saw some of our elected officials that put us into these positions voting on yesterday. I'm not gonna call their names, but they had great comment about the process. Maybe we are beating ourselves down trying to make something too perfect. There is not a perfect world out there. And we'll be in here all day trying to make it a perfect world, and it's not gonna be a perfect world. I haven't heard no complaints, and I keep my ear open for complaints, and if there are complaints, I'm gonna address those with the voters in a very respectable manner. And they understand, they do. The community of Beaufort County have grown in leaps and bounds. Bluffton is bursting out of the seam. Beaufort is too. I don't know about Hilton Head, but I know it is very busy. And I'm not getting no complaints in Bluffton, because if I do, I will make sure I will address it and I will bring it to Marie's attention. And on election day, if we do have people who's gonna drop it at the last minute, and I've had them drop it at the last minute, but guess what? We still got the job done. And that's the main thing, is making sure that every person get the opportunity to vote. That's what we should really be geared up for. Everybody get the opportunity to vote, because we're all humans. And we don't need our people who are working these early voting places to be tired, because some of them will be working on election day. Also, the staff is going to be working on election day. We need to make sure that everybody get the opportunity to get a breather in there. And as board members, we have to understand that. Because if we don't, then we could be heading for some major trouble unless you are out there. You've got to be out there working and doing the work to understand what's going on. We got to do that. And I'm going to obtain a motion so we can move on because it's 2:21.
Can I just make
O-
one?
Okay, hold on one second. Okay,
comment. It's not negative.
okay, 1 second. And the reason I'm saying that is because when I left Bluffton to get here to this meeting, it was hurting me to even come to this meeting,
Yes.
okay? Because there are people out there. I can't touch the machines, but I can direct the traffic and get folks moving. That's a big plus, so those workers can get a break. We got to make sure that those workers get a lunch break. They can't stand all day putting people on machines or sitting. And I would like to be able to leave out of this meeting in a timely manner so I can get back and help our workers move those lines and get our voters in. Okay, Beverly?
I hope that no comment that I made was construed as a criticism. It was not. I am very pleased with the people that have been assigned to work in the polling places that I have. My only comment was, I have observed in the past, from the number of years that I've served on the board, that students were very, very effective and efficient on election day. And I was merely asking whether there were any students that were available that could assist on election day. That was my only comment. Nobody's complaining, not in this vicinity where I'm sitting. This is not a complaint. You always do a good job. And when we work together as a team, we always pull it off. We always pull off fair, impartial elections. So I just wanted to make sure that I go on the record as clarifying the nature of my comments. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna obtain a motion, to accept the, where is it, where's my paperwork here? For the approval of poll workers for November the 5th, 2024 elections.
So moved?
Okay, that,
Second.
all right, it's been properly moved and second.
So
That-
did you make the motion, Eileen?
No, I
or-
didn't.
Okay.
Matt did.
Well, I just wanted, because I thought you had.
No, no, ma'am, I wouldn't dare do that. And Beverly second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried for the approval of the poll workers for November 5th, 2024. Director's report.
Thank you. And I want to also, this is a little sidebar, is commend our board members who are volunteering in the office, who are volunteering at the polling location and helping out with the election. I know that everybody's got things to do, but your presence there mean a lot, not just to the office staff, but definitely the voters, because they see you out there and you are representing your community. So just want you to know that. I know sometimes you are out there and people don't recognize who you are, but there are people that do recognize who you are. And so that's a plus for the board because you are making yourself available to serve the public. We're going to just stick to election updates today. And so the first thing that we want to talk about is, since we met as a group, we did receive our additional voting equipment. They were delivered a little bit late, but we got them. And they, of course, the day we got them, the hurricane was on, was coming. And so we shut down on that Friday. They couldn't do anything with uploading all the necessary software, but they came back on that Monday and did what they needed to do. Just want to remind everybody that the last day to request an application and to mail absentee ballot is going to be this Friday at 5 o'clock. And I know we are still getting calls about absentee ballots. Unfortunately, 11 days before the election is the last time we can accept an application and mail absentee ballots. Wendell mentioned earlier that the last briefing for those poll workers who have not been briefed or trained is going to be November the 4th at 5:30 at the Beaufort office. All right, and we've talked about this before, what's going to be on the ballot. We've been going out into the community for the last couple of weeks, trying to educate the folks about what to expect on the ballot, making sure that people know where they can go to find that information as well. So we're not going to, go ahead, Wendell, to the next slide. We were talking about early voting. It's in full swing. Like Ms. Eileen said earlier, people are excited about voting. I've been walking the lines, I've been directing traffic, I've been setting up curbside sign. I'm there at the office between 7:15 and 7:30 in the morning, and people are already in line. So I think people are excited about the opportunity to vote, and that's a good thing, because that's what we work hard to make sure, to ensure that they do have that opportunity. And I haven't had anybody complain yet. I'm sure people may be complaining, but I haven't heard anybody. And I walk outside periodically, and I see smiles on people's faces. I talk to them, wanted to let them know that we are there to help them if they need any help. So, you know, again, it's not the prettiest thing, but people are not complaining. People are not complaining. So, a report on what we did so far at early voting. We have seen Monday and Tuesday over 10,000 people. Record turnout at some of the locations. I'm so proud of St. Helena because St. Helena is really turning out folks. As a matter of fact, there were people that were leaving Beaufort going to St. Helena because the lines were a little bit shorter. So
I encountered
again,
that when I voted.
huh?
I encountered that when I voted. The gentleman in front of me said he couldn't park, and so he came to St. Helena.
St. Helena. Yes.
Maybe I should be going out there to work rather than.
But you know,
And he's
distributing the wealth, that's what we are doing. So just to give you an idea of what we've done over the last month, over this month, really, is, go to the next slide, Wendell. Did I miss one? Oh, okay.
Is the next one?
Yeah, no, this is good. We can stay here.
Do you have any statistics regarding the turnout so far?
It was back a couple screens.
I didn't look before I left the office, but as of this morning, we were at a 6% turnout.
Okay.
But
We already hit 8.
we at 8 now?
Yeah.
As of when? I mean,
That was around midday, a little, not midday, because it did, but
So
I mean,
this-
the last time I looked, it was at
the
8%.
6% represented Monday and
And
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
And so you're saying by midday today,
It
it's
was at
already
8.
up to 8.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
you don't,
and you can find this information on scvotes.gov.
I've got it.
You got it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so they will be posting the early vote totals every day. So as whatever we do during the day, give it a little bit of time, the next day you'll have that information.
They posted it about 10 o'clock today,
Okay,
Good
because I
turnout.
looked earlier.
so that's how you can keep up with it.
These are working so hard.
So be reminded that we will have a public test on Friday, November the 1st. The public test will be to test the central scanner. It's a public test, and so people from the public can come in and we will show them how the tabulator works and explain to them the process of what we do to collect results at the precinct and on election night. So it's interesting. You will get to see the tabulating machines, and Verna probably will not let you touch it, but at least you get to see, and he'll explain the process. He does a good job on explaining the process. Then we will have the hand count the day after the election, which will be at 10 o'clock. Again, this is a public event. The public is invited. It's already been advertised. This is when we will physically hand count a selected group of precincts that's going to be given to us from the State Election Commission. We do not know what precincts they are going to be yet, nor the contest that will be counted. But we will know that election night or early the day after, Wednesday morning. And then, of course, we will be meeting for the canvass to certify the election result on that Friday at 9 o'clock. So please mark your calendars. All right, this is what we did during the month of October so far as education and community events. I don't think I need to go over it, but I wanted you to know what we were doing in the last couple of weeks. And this is also including all of those training that Jean and Wendell has been doing. Okay, that's pretty much concludes my report. Unless you have some questions.
Marie, for the voluntary hands-on training, was that well attended?
Wendell, not really.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, the one on Hilton had, or at Gene, that only 2 people showed up. There were 4 that were scheduled, 2 came thinking that this was a training to be a poll worker, so they kindly excused themselves. The other 2 stayed. So the opportunity was there, whether people took advantage of it or not is a whole different equation.
Yeah.
I did the one, I can't remember, there's so many of them. But I had 10 at mine. It was supposed to be 10, 3 who signed up didn't show, and then 3 who were already, 2 of them were clerks, they came again, because it's just basically the clerk training, but anybody else can attend. And then we had several people attend the clerk training who weren't clerks. And we pulled the clerk, one gentleman, we made him a clerk after the training because he was outstanding. And we had a gap, and we asked him, he said, if we had a gap, we want to put you in it. A gap appeared, and we put him in it, so that worked out very well. So a lot of people attended the clerk training. You know, they're not getting paid for it, but they attended, they just wanted to attend, which was technically the unpaid voluntary thing, the same content. And a lot of people came to the ones that one that Jean had, I know that was the one she said nobody showed up. But the ones that were in Beaufort or whatever, the other ones, they were all well attended. And the people enjoyed themselves, they really did. We have some good poll workers, we really do.
That's what I always say. We are the best in the state.
Okay, Beverly?
I just wanted to commend the staff and the director on this publication. I have circulated it widely in the community, and now people are calling my house for additional copies, but I just think that this really contained a lot of information that voters really need, like the early voting sites, the north of the Broad polling locations, and I just think that it was very attractively done, and it has just so much information that it's really something we should continue. And thank you so much for this.
We have a copy for south of the Broad as well, so.
You had one for South of the Broad?
too.
Because when I circulated it at a sorority meeting, one person said, you didn't do one for Ridgeland, you didn't do one for Jasper. I said, well, I don't serve on the board in Jasper, but as your director, but it's very, very helpful.
Thank you. Again, what our goal is in this election, not just this election, but especially this election, is to get the word out. And we just want people to know the facts because there's so much misinformation out there. We are just trying to put the truth out so people will know what the truth is. And providing information like that and you guys sharing it will definitely help. And I know it's hard right now to get a hold of the office staff because the phones are ringing constantly. And but there are media in place where people can email, and we can answer emails. It's usually just late at night because we get started early in the morning and we there late at night. So folks may not get a response until late at night or first thing the next morning. So,
This
but
was
we just want
available in
to share the
churches and-
information.
Churches and several community groups. We just got volumes of them, and sure enough, we used every one of them.
Marie, I just want to mention to the board, maybe they do know, I'm sort of like nosy. I like asking a lot of questions of workers and comment on to them also. And I mentioned to Rosalind at the early voting, and I said to her, I said, when I got home last night, I was so tired I didn't thought about eating. All I could do was take a shower and just go to bed. And she said, well, great, because I was still working until 10 o'clock at Election Central. So when we think that the workers are just closing up after early voting and going on home, they are still working at Election Central, which is at John Galt Road, until after 10 o'clock at night. And I've got.
We went home early last night.
Oh, you got home early?
We went at
last night?
9:30.
Oh, 9:30, you did good then. But I've had some voters, asking me today, how long do they work? I said, well, some of them can leave out after the poll closes, but there are others that they have to work until maybe 10 o'clock at night, and then they're back the next morning. And that's why I was stressing that we have to make sure that we don't tire our folks out too much, because we need them on November the 5th. We all need each other too on November the 5th as board members. We have to be out there too, making sure. We can't touch those electronic equipment, but we can sure enough direct someone to go to the machine and give them their I vote stamp and keep the line moving, making sure that everybody have their identification out in their hands and ready to go, because that is another thing that is key. Once folks are ready, when they get to the check-in, it moves much quicker. That's all I have to say. Anybody else have any comments or suggestions, recommendations? Start to my right this time.
Wendell, I mentioned to you about the issues, the technical issues we were having at some of the sites. You wanna explain to the rest of the board members about?
Yeah, and Ms. Marie can also attest to this. What is going on, there've been a few glitches with EPBs, but it's not a local thing, it's a statewide thing. And sometimes you'll hear them call in or whatever in reference to it, and the state does address it, but it's nothing we can do about it. In every election we've had these EPBs, there's been one or two issues that are statewide, and it's in the software. It's nothing mechanical or anything like that, it's in the software. So, don't get alarmed. It's not something we can control. It's just something that just happens almost every election.
Can I say something about that? Because I witnessed that yesterday. What happened yesterday, I guess so many people was working those poll books, and it went down for a second, so they had to wait.
Yeah.
And it didn't take that long, because I know at Bluffton, there was like two of them sort of went down slowly, but the other were working, and then eventually it came right back on, and they were able to move folks along, and that was because there were so many people using those machines on yesterday. I guess the turnout was just big,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think
good.
we sometimes forget that that's a piece of equipment, and I don't know if it was definitely designed to operate those many hours, so, all day long. So sometimes it needs to cool down.
Yeah, but it came right back up, and I witnessed that on yesterday.
When you say it came right back up, are we talking 5 minutes or
No,
30
no,
seconds?
no, I
or-
was less, quicker than 5.
Well, because during that time, were they using the paper, old-fashioned paper check-in?
No, you just go to the next machine.
This is
Oh,
what
so
they-
it's
they had
not
the-
all
no, of
machines at
them.
the same
No,
time? It's
no.
like one here and
Just
then one
maybe
there?
one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they still had machines up and running,
Okay.
yeah.
Since I haven't observed it, I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Mr. Cooper down there, you taking a little nap?
No, ma'am.
Any questions? Any comments? Yeah.
I went this morning, arrived at, about 7:20 a.m. and some of the workers came out, shared information. There was probably 20 of us in line at that point. The door was opened, and I think the welcome was done quite well. We did have a couple issues with the machines, but the lady that was doing mine was extremely pleasant and shared. If you'll just wait just 1 second, we'll get you to the next machine for verification, validation. And I think everyone did a great job. When I probably completed voting within 10 minutes. And by 8:45, there was probably 300 people in line.
Great.
It was all the way around, beyond the tennis courts, into the back
Out
entrance.
to the dirt road almost, yeah.
The gentleman, I was really impressed. I don't know if he was one of ours or who he is, who was guiding people to park.
Yeah, he's one of mine.
Okay.
That's
He-
Steve
yeah,
Wilkins, Steve.
Yeah,
Is that who, okay.
Uh-huh.
yeah, superstar.
Yeah.
We need, is he a full-time employee? Man,
He
I'm
acts
telling you
like
what,
one.
he
He
can
really-
can work
he and
any
Roz
par-
really work
he
good
can work
together.
any
He
parking
only
lot
works
with
for
great
Roz.
ease.
He only works for Roz.
He did a good job. He did a very good job.
Yeah.
I heard zero complaints, and people were, in fact, very complimentary in how quickly things were moving.
And he does a lot of the curbside. I think Bluffton's catching up with Sun City with curbside. They've had nothing but curbside, and he's done a marvelous job, him and the other gentleman there. And he's also my Moss Creek clerk, and they keep things moving. And I don't have 7 and 10 people there, and Moss Creek is out there on their own doing their thing. They don't vote early.
You got 7 now?
Oh, I got 7? Wow. But they keep things going. With 6 people, and Moss Creek got a lot of numbers. And it's all about being focused again and not having a lot of long conversations. We can't be conversating when we're trying to checking our voters, because they don't want to be waiting too long either. They want to come in, go and cast their votes so they can be off their feet or do whatever else they need to do. Beverly? Oh, I'm sorry, you
And-
too?
And since we are being recorded, and you posed the question, was I taking a nap? No, ma'am, I was not. I was just listening.
Okay, that's why your eyes closed. Beverly?
Okay, I just, wanted to mention that I have received no negative comments whatsoever. Mostly, people are calling with excitement over the election. They're calling for information, and of course, I keep this very handy to be able to, answer questions. And, the one thing that I would like to emphasize with my colleagues on the, board is that it's very important that you visit those new polling places. You may discover that the entrance to the facility has changed. Maybe they've put some furniture in there that may need to be removed or put in another location. But you don't want your clerks going over there the day before the election to set up and not know at a big school like Robert Smalls, just recently renovated, just what entrance to take and just where to put the signs. At the last election, we did have to go over, and they had changed the location of the voting process. So you need to find that out ahead of time. So I am meeting with the facilities managers, sometimes taking pictures of things that need to be removed, deciding ahead of time with the clerk, just how the polling place needs to be set up. But that's something you don't need to run into
Tuesday morning.
Tuesday or Monday when you're setting up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think the staff should be commended for doing a wonderful job.
To my left, Matt, because I'm done talking.
Early voting at Hilton Head has been going very well. I think most of the voters appreciate that newer, larger facility. I had one voter grab my ear today and wanted to know why, when we had such a high turnout on Monday, why didn't we open a second early voting center on Tuesday? So, you know, we have to recognize we can't make everybody happy all the time.
No, you can't.
And to Beverly's point, since the briefing by the Sheriff's Department 2 weeks ago, I've been scheduling meetings with the clerk and the facilities manager at each location to discuss a wide range of things. Which leads me to a question, Marie, and that is, when can we get a delivery schedule of equipment to our polling locations?
I'll check with Vernon.
Okay. Okay, so one of the action items I had with each of my facility manager meetings was to give them a time frame when they could expect the equipment so that it could be put in a secure location.
Good point.
And finally, I looked at 2022 general election, which is probably the best and the only proxy available to look at early voting trends. And using the 2022 general election distribution of early voting over the 12 days, and it's hard to make a conclusion based on 2 days of data, but we are on track to be at about a 50% overall turnout in early voting.
50%?
50%. So the ad hoc committee has been using 36% in its models to allocate election day equipment. So if the trends continue to follow the distribution that we had in 2022, we could be around 50%, which would help every location on election day, but would also keep the pressure up for the rest of the early voting period.
Can I just piggyback on one very good point that you made? It is important that your clerks know what secure place that equipment is gonna be in, because I visited one of my newer precincts and found that, you know, they needed a particular space in the facility, and we were able to work that out just by a mere conversation with the facilities manager. But that's a very good point. You need to know, and your clerks need to know
And
where
also
that
too,
secure
yeah.
place is.
And for the schools, you need to make sure too that the janitor who is going to be opening the doors know what time you're gonna be there, because other than that, you may not be able to get in when you need to get in, and you could be running behind. So for schools, make sure that the janitors know that you're gonna be there at a certain times, even on Monday afternoon. Okay, Mr. Backer?
Following up on facilities, and Wendell, we had a brief discussion about the lack of responsiveness by the Mill Creek HOA, but have you been able to contact them to request that they remove
Move the furniture.
all the furniture?
I
from
got a
the
call into
room?
Kelly. Kelly actually knows the HOA person, so I got a call into her, but I haven't heard back from her yet. So I'll call her again when I get back to the office.
And then on the facilities issue and the schools, do we have the most updated list of contacts at each?
Yeah, and I'm gonna call Brandy, that she's the facilities person. You know, I had to do an end around on, the email you and I kept going back, Bluffton High School. You know,
Yeah, that's moved from the gym to the
cafeteria.
cafeteria.
Yeah, and, but I'm gonna put in a call with Brandy, cause I need to have a discussion with her to make sure that, like, the janitor situation, because apparently the school district changed all of the janitorial contract
Yeah.
or something to get a better contractor, I believe. So I'm gonna call her and, sit down, well, not sit down with her, but call her and say, hey, where are we? You know, she was very clear, we were very clear that in November, all of those issues should not occur at all. And she said that she was clear that with the new contract, it's not, but I'm gonna have a discussion with her this week.
So if you are talking with her, McCracken Middle School, that entrance on the side there, there's a tripping hazard as you try to go in the door. We tried to cover it for the last election with just a mat, but then that created another kind of hazard in itself. It's difficult to see what they could do, but other than putting crime scene tape around it or something to really alert, to just alert people when there's a potential tripping hazard. And you have to keep that door open, because if it closes, it locks.
Okay.
So on a day where it's a little, potentially maybe a little cold or something, that that door has to kind of stay open on the side entrance there. At the safety training, security training, we talked that all of the schools have their own emergency preparedness documents. Are there sections out of that specific to assembly points for an evacuation that we could obtain so that for each school? Why?
I don't think they want to give you that information.
Well,
And the only reason I'm saying that, because I worked in the school up to 2 years ago. And I don't know if, I'm just saying, I don't know if the principal would want
Well,
that
I'm
information.
just asking for the
Okay.
one-page copy, what's the assembly point in case of evacuation, so that for all the schools that we're using, the clerks have an idea of where we might go.
Would be a good place.
Yeah. I don't want their whole plan. I'm
So you
saying,
just want to
can-
know, like, the door that you're going into to get into the school, where would you have to go out to
Where would
evacuate?
that, where's their evacuation assembly point?
Each of them probably had several,
different,
depending on what part of the school
yeah,
that you were in, when you were using.
That's what I'm saying,
I-
because it's
I mean,
different, because they don't use all of them.
We can look into that after the election. What we can do though, that's, and we can't talk about some of this stuff anyway, but
I know.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay. And just one last point about the early voting. I want to thank Mr. Sweeney, because he prepared a template to prep for the polls that he was using in Hilton Head to promote early voting. He shared it with me. I was able to modify it for a few locations. So I was able to get this document out in mass email to Hampton Hall, Belfair, and Kalawasi Island. And I hope maybe that blast about early voting has maybe helped us to be kind of where we are, at least in the early stages of early voting, with a good early voting turnout. That's it.
Is it, Liz?
One thing I'd like to do is, I guess it would be Jean, but there may have been other people besides her, that when Monday things blew up as far as early voting and there were way more people than we anticipated, she was sending messages to all the poll workers asking if anybody had extra time that they could work, that had work scheduled. I know my husband put himself down for 3 days of poll working, because the numbers just, I don't think we planned for quite as many people, but the reaction was quick, and to try to, build ourselves up to where we suddenly found ourselves need to be. And when you said 50%, I was doing some calculations. I didn't get quite that high, but it's gonna be high, and it doesn't appear that Monday was it's the first day we're excited surge. It was more Tuesday. And hopefully that will make Election Day a lot easier on everybody, because the numbers will be much smaller than we planned for, because they've already gone through.
And I know we processed more people on Tuesday
I know
than we
you
did on Monday.
I
And
saw
our
that.
process went a whole lot smoother. I think Monday was growing pains, trying to figure out, making sure everything worked well, and we had it down packed by Tuesday morning, so.
And I mean, the reaction, the fact that, the messages were going out, we need more help, Monday evening shows that. And I did go back to St. Helena Island, and they had at least one and possibly two more ballot marking devices, because they were working with only 5 on Monday. And I know I counted 6, and I think there was another one sitting on a table that hadn't been set up on Tuesday when I went in really early. So, the equipment got out there that they needed too, and I appreciate that very much, because I don't think people at St. Helena have ever had a line of 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and that's what it was Monday.
That's good.
I mean,
That's good, yeah.
a lot of times if they get 100 voters, they think they've had a busy day.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah,
good.
and we're working pretty close to
Where's my
capacity
agenda?
there.
What's on the agenda? I can't even see.
Those are your closing
Yeah.
comments?
I already did mine. I already did my closing comment. Anybody else with closing comments? Wendell, Marie, nobody else? Wow, y'all looking ready to go. It says, next board meeting is scheduled for, to be determined. To be determined. That's exactly what we'll do. We'll determine when the next board meeting is gonna be after the election.
Oh, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I'm sorry. As of 2 days of early voting, have we been getting many provisional ballots? Do you know how
A
many
few.
provisional ballots came in
We've
those 2
been
days
getting a
about?
few. You mean provisional or absentee?
Provisionals. I mean, I'm thinking about ahead of the certification hearing, and does it look like we're getting a lot of provisional ballots from early voting?
No.
No, not
No.
really.
Good. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, I know
not
the
really.
fail-safe issues can all be taken care of easily at early voting, but that's good.
Provisional ballot, we may have gotten over the 2 days right now, I think about 12 maybe.
I don't
Okay.
think it's that many.
I'm saying 12, I don't
Yeah.
know, but it's not that many.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear.
I-
That's good.
That's good.
All right. Did everybody hear my comment about next meeting is scheduled for to be determined?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Thank you. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.